Hello friends, this is Rahul Kulkarni from the Indian Scale Modeler, and this time I have built Sukhoi 30MKI using the Zvezda kit. So this is a box of the kit and this is a model that I have built. I am happy with how it has turned out to be. It was very interesting to build it. So I hope you will enjoy the video of the build and subscribe to my channel, Indian Scale Modeler. Thank you. See, someone's got a new bullet model as well. Alpha.